You're a man that controls his own destiny. A man that is always in the pursuit of being better. You are in the right place. You are responsible. You are strong. You are a leader. You are a force for good. Gentlemen, you are the Alpha, and this is the Alpha Quorum.
Welcome back to the Alpha Quorum Show. Brad Singletary here. You guys, we're back again with another amazing guest. Today is going to be awesome. Sitting across from me right now is a man that has dedicated his life to health, fitness, and helping others become better versions of themselves. Before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to all of you who've been supportive on the social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram. Hopefully soon we're going to have TikTok up and running. Appreciate you watching on YouTube. This show is rapidly growing, and the podcast platforms are also taking notice of us. We're so excited that so many of you are finding value in the things that we're sharing, and we're excited about the trajectory that we're on. This whole thing is growing so fast, and we just want all of you to know how much we appreciate you. Now, today we're speaking with a man whose accomplishments and experience are only found in those who exercise self-mastery. This man is driven by purpose. He's a master trainer at Lake Las Vegas and is a successful entrepreneur and public speaker. Gentlemen, please welcome Jorge Velilla.
Hello.
Hey,
Brad.
dude, it's so glad to have you here, man.
Thank you so much.
So George is kind of my neighbor around here somewhere. We met actually in the grocery store, and he...
in the fruit section, right? I think it was.
That's right. I was on my way out. You were on your way in. Actually, I saw you in the parking lot in this pimped out golf cart. That was so cool. I was like, whoa, look at this guy. And then I saw you inside and I was like, is this dude somebody famous? You know, he looks like a freaking $1 million.
Oh, thanks.
And, you know, just kind of walking in there for the day. And I had challenged some of my guys in my group here to, when you see a man that catches your eye, that is interesting, that is a neighbor, somebody walking their dog, just be willing to shake someone's hand. And that was the day that I met you. And so I appreciate your friendliness and just openness. You probably thought, who is this fat redneck?
Yeah, well, you know, kind of crossed my mind, but no, everything seemed to work out pretty well. So yeah, it worked out pretty good.
So your career spanning back to like 1997
Correct.
to Gold's Gym. Is that back on the East Coast?
That is back on the East Coast in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so give us a little bit of background. So you grew up on the East Coast, or is that where you're from?
I grew up originally. I lived in the Bronx till I was 12 years old.
Okay.
With my older brother, and we had a bad childhood growing up. We lived with my grandfather and my grandmother up on the 5th floor on the Grand Concourse, and he was a alcoholic. He had one eye that was glass, and he owned a taxi company and also a garage. My father had a 7th grade education. He drove for Greyhound for many years, and my grandmother had a daughter who was severely retarded and got stung by a mosquito. Back then, people think that it's new, I guess 10 years ago, and she got the Zika virus. So now she was paralyzed.
Okay.
So, we lived in a very, very dangerous neighborhood. I mean, we got mugged, we got robbed, we had our guitar stolen from us.
Wow.
It was rough growing up. So, after we left there, we went to the suburbs in Maple Shade, New Jersey. My father met a woman. And, started going to school. We were never really ever good at school, just never good at school. And unfortunately, the way that my father was raised, the tough guy, Puerto Rico, 12, his father had 12 brothers and, didn't get a lot of love, never got a hug, always put down. And so when I grew up, I had zero self-confidence. I mean, I couldn't do anything. I mean, if I pumped your gas, I would put diesel in it with a shit. If I would work the Jiffy Lube, I would pull the wrong the knob out and drain the wrong fluid. I mean, if I would give you the wrong change if I worked at Dunkin' Donuts. I mean, I just had absolutely zero confidence in myself. So I will say that, that's probably one thing if you ever want to teach your child. I know education is very important, but teach them to have some self-confidence. Because let me tell you something. If you can't do it, I mean, you walk in that room already a loser.
Right.
You're already beat, So when I was 27 years old, I was going to school at the time, and I was taking some courses in kinesiology, anatomy, physiology, nutrition, something that I was always interested in. But I was working for Canada Dry, blew my back out, and I needed back surgery. So I didn't work for a year. And I was working at the Gold's Gym in Cherry Hill. I was unemployed, and there was a guy there named Mike. He said, you're in good shape. You want to do some personal training? And I was like, well, I'm never personal trained, but I know a lot about nutrition and how the body works. You're hired. And I was there all the time. I was cleaning toilets. I mean, I was open the place, close the place. I had nothing to do. Next thing you know, he makes me the general manager.
Wow.
And I start picking up 1 client, 2 clients, 5 clients. And after a while, he was a good-looking guy that sold, like, do you remember the T. Michael T-shirts that they used to sell like that? He was a good-looking guy. He did, pro bodybuilding. He's like, you want to run this place? I'm 27 years old. No confidence. But the gym was something that I just felt good. I felt like I knew what I was doing. It was like the only thing, the first time I'm in my life, where I was like, this feels good. And these people that are hiring me, they're thanking me. They're like, thank you. I'm like, wow, this feels great. Forget about the money.
Right.
They actually appreciate me. And that's where I believe my addiction to excelling this, because I can't let this feeling go. It feels too good.
Yeah.
So I started studying and reading more and getting more into injuries, which is when you start working with people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, you start talking about sicknesses and diseases and back, knees, hips, shoulders, pregnant people. And I just took off. He let me redesign the whole gym, brought in new equipment, gave them a proposal, loved it. The mirrors, the TVs. I designed a basketball league there. He let me take over the personal trainers, and I just blew up. It was fantastic.
Wow. So what started your own fitness journey? I mean, were you like a teenager when you started that, or in your adulthood, or how did you hit the gym? When did you start that?
Honestly, I was probably about 19 when I started going to the gym, and I injured myself quite a few times. I have a picture on my phone when I'm 7 years old. I'm flexing like this. So I have good genetics. I'm born with large muscle bellies, and I have very small joints though. So though aesthetically it looks very pleasing, on the other hand, I'm very susceptible to injuries.
Oh, okay.
So my muscles are very strong, but the joints can't handle the weight. So it was because of me suffering injuries, especially to my back and shoulders, that I learned what to do, what not to do, how to work around the injuries. So when I work with my clients that come to me who have injuries, I'm already not just reading a book, but I've also experienced it. And I find that a lot now with personal training is that, and other professions also, they get everything from a book, they get everything from a magazine, but they don't experience themselves.
Right.
And I think that's probably the number one way to learn or teach is to go through experience in your life, not just reading something from a book, because you know how it is, Brad. Anything can happen any moment, anytime. You can plan and read and study all you want, but when the shit hits the fan and you got to know something, man, there's nothing like, it's like a car accident, until you get into that situation, you go, I'm going to be the tough guy, and I'm going to get out of this car and save everybody. Yeah. Okay. And when this thing's on fire, getting ready to blow up, you got people screaming, and it's just chaos. Then, that's the best.
That's why I'm such a good therapist. I'm so messed up.
You're perfect.
I've experienced that personally. So
exactly,
literally, that's true. And I love how you talk about the difficulty that you came up with. Family stuff, and then just hardship living where you lived, and now it's like you're living the dream, and I can just tell that you've got some things figured out. You talked about your wife and some of her great accomplishments and responsibilities in her career, and you just carry yourself so well. One of our things that we talk about, I have this little model called the Red 9, and they're just 9 principles, but 3 of them that I can really see as very strong in you is, number 1, resourcefulness. So being able to figure things out, you're talking about figuring out your own injuries in your own body early on, and then helping other people understand their body. So there's a lot of learning. I can't imagine the vast amount of just information that you have. And then energy. So that has to do with the physical body and just maintaining energy in your life and in your body. And then the last one is distinction. So obviously you have discipline. That's another one of those. But distinction is just, you carry yourself like someone that people should pay attention to?
That's very important. That is very important. I think that goes for a lot of professions also, Brad, especially in your profession. Look, when people come to you for help, it's not just giving them advice. It's also how you give them advice. You got to sound you know what you're talking about, and everything's going to be okay. I've been where you've been. Trust me. And I could read something from a book of you, of course. But when you talk to somebody who has been there and done that, and you have the ability to verbalize and read them and let them know what they should hear, because your message is different to different people. And I think again, with experience, you start to learn that we're going to fix this. We're going to fix this. I know how you feel, but trust me. And you have to communicate confidence when you talk to these people, because they're vulnerable when they come to you. So, you have to project leadership and confidence, and knowing that you may hit a wall, but I'm going to figure out how to get around this, and we're going to do this. I promise you. And that's I think that's real important.
When you talk about, the way you present yourself, it seems like the conviction first has to be in you. And that's what's very strong as you, is that you know what you're talking about, and you know what you're doing, and you accept that 100% in yourself. I think there's a lot of capable men out there who have the knowledge or have the experience, but they just don't stand up and, be counted and allow it to be known that they are self-confident. So is that something you developed? I mean, you talked about flexing when you're 7 years old. I've got a 7-year-old who's doing that right now. He's like doing the YouTube workouts, and he's all about confidence. But how have you gained all of this belief in yourself?
I'll tell you, I'll give you an example. Let's say dieting. There's many different diets. The Summer Suzanne diet, the keto diet, the Atkins diet, the Lyons diet, the carnivorous diet. And you could read about all these diets. Read them till you're blue in the face. What I want you to do is do every single one. Okay? If it takes 3 months to do it, stick to it and do it. It's going to be uncomfortable. So let's say if you're going to do the paleo diet, you're going to do the Atkins diet, where your body goes into ketosis, and you're very uncomfortable. You're depriving your brain of glucose. You're stuttering a little bit. Your brain loves glucose for energy. You're going to have some bad nights of sleep. Your breath is going to stink from having ketones in your blood. Well, guess what? I want you to do this for the next 3 months. I want you to eat a high-fat diet. I want you to put on 30 pounds in the wintertime and see how fast you can drop it. Don't drink. Don't do drugs for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. So you have to, me personally, I've done every single diet there is. Of course, I read about it. But until you actually do it, and again, I think that most trainers, they don't want to do it. It's very uncomfortable. Don't get me wrong. Same thing with doing cardio. You ever do cardio till you pass out because you're dehydrated and hit the ground? You got to call your girlfriend to come pick you up on the golf cart because you're under a tree on grass. Yeah, that's what you have to do. And you have to, weigh yourself and do an in-body test and check your body fat. And I think that is the best way to take somebody from point A to point B. Like if you're gonna tell somebody what to do, damn well you better do it yourself.
Yeah, you've had experience with it. You know what that diet is like. You get the runs or the keto flu or whatever they call that stuff. You've experienced it. So as you teach someone to do it, and so when you tell them to do all of it, you're just saying have some experiences, find out what works for you. Is that the point of that? Correct.
And of course, from there you can critique it a little bit. You can modify it, make it a little bit more comfortable. And, you find nowadays that, it doesn't have to be, bonsai every single time. You take it, level 3, and then you kind of work your way up. And the best thing to motivate people is progress, results.
Once you see something, it's easier to get back in there.
Absolutely. And I have access to certain machines where I can test people and I can show them on a piece of paper, especially like with women. So let's say a woman starts lifting weights and 30 days go by. She hasn't lost a pound yet. Nowadays with technology, we have the ability to see, well, geez, she's lost 3 pounds of fat, but she's put on 3 pounds of muscle and her percentage of body fat went from 25% to 22%. That is fantastic. Back in the day, if you didn't have that technology, she'd be pissed off. I wasted my time. I haven't lost a pound.
Right.
But not nowadays. And this is now from there, we can just start to adjust. If your diet's a little bit, if it's too easy, I could turn it up a notch and see how we do with the results. And then you just take it from there. And again, people, once they get results, it is very, very motivating, for sure.
So you look great, man. You look, how old are you?
53.
Oh my gosh.
I get a little Botox. Don't give me all the credit.
Dude, well, this is work, whatever it is you're doing. So I'm just wondering, have you done like competitive type stuff? I mean, that's how you're shaped. I just wonder if you've done that whole on the stage kind of stuff.
I have not, and I get that question all the time. And I have somebody that would like to sponsor me now to do a show, but I really have no interest. Honestly, I'm actually pretty modest. When I go out, I don't show my body too much. I don't like to be the center of attention. And when I train my clients, I don't wear a tank top, and I don't want attention on me. I want my attention to be on the clients, all eyes on them. I'm just the person there to guide you. I don't want anybody, looking at me. I'm not there for me. I'm there for you. And I don't want to be intimidating.
Yeah.
I find also, if you're going to be a successful personal trainer, I believe you got to drop your ego. When you first meet somebody, don't show up, in short shorts and a tank top and a chain. And I just, in my experience, I just don't think it's necessary to do that. If you're going to be a professional, be a professional. Look how you want to be. The visual that you want to give off.
So I was thinking the other day about my clients here. So I do mental health, marriage and family counseling and stuff like that, addictions and all different things. And who I don't see in my office are people that look like you.
Really?
The gym rats, the people that are very physical and very active, they don't come here. And I don't know if it's because they're stubborn and hard-headed and don't want to dig into their stuff, or that they're processing their grief and pain and, their stresses in life in the gym. I mean, I've had a couple, some first responders who happen to be really fit, but most people who are coming for help on the emotional side, I mean, they haven't been in the gym in 20 years, or they quit since they stopped recess in 6th grade. I mean, they haven't been very active. So what do you make of that? I'm saying people who are very physically active don't seem to be showing up to the places to get emotional help.
Well, Brad, I would tell you this. Only 8% of the population, works out consistently. Only 8%. It's a very small amount, especially in this country itself, number one. Number two, I'll say as far as, exercising is concerned, I think that sometimes you're almost doing therapy for yourself. So if you have problems at home, or, you had a fucked up childhood growing up, or, you're going through whatever, maybe you got fired from your job, or you're having, health issues, when you go to work out or you train, you basically, you're escaping. It's temporary, don't get me wrong, but if you work out for, let's say, 45 minutes or an hour, your brain starts to produce dopamine, serotonin, and so you kind of feel good, and it's a way, it's like your own therapy that you're doing.
Yeah, it's like a way to hack. It's a self-hack for your emotional health to be physically active. You're kind of burning off some stress there, and I love it, man.
Correct.
8%, that's crazy.
It's low.
That makes sense.
I mean, if you really think about it, if you look in the, a very large neighborhood, out of 100 people, only 8, which is why a lot of these times, this is how these gyms, it's a great plan, like Planet Fitness. The reason why they can only charge $10 a month, they made a bet and they said, you know what? So many people are going to join this gym because everybody wants to work out. But for $10 a month, it's not even worth your time to pull in there and cancel your membership, because I know that next month I'll start working out again for $10. And it goes on. It just goes for years. Sometimes people would just, they always want to, but they just find reasons not to, which is, again, probably human nature a little bit also.
What makes us do that? I mean, what makes us make the excuses? I'm that way. I just recently canceled my second membership because I wasn't going to the first gym.
Right.
So I had to, because I want to work out with my other buddy at the other gym, and I wasn't doing either one. So why do we have such a hard time getting going and just beginning or getting back to it if we've been off for a while?
I think there's a couple of reasons. I think that we want results pretty quickly. You break your ass for 2 weeks and you want to see something. Unfortunately, it's hard to abuse your body for 10 years and then work out for 2 weeks and say, okay, where's my abs?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Also, the majority of people who are working out inside the fitness centers or the gyms really don't know what they're doing. They really don't. And you figure nowadays with YouTube and more information out there that things would have changed. It's just as bad, if not worse. Mm-hmm. But there are ways, there's an order to working out. There is a difference between eating healthy and eating to drop body fat. There's a difference. Mm-hmm. And this knowledge just doesn't seem to be out there. Mm-hmm. But there's a way to do it and to make yourself comfortable so that you'll stick to it. And look, nowadays we have, we could watch our phone on, mm-hmm. On our TV on our mm-hmm. phones, and we have way many other things to, take our interest off of getting healthy. But listen, I guess ultimately it comes down to excuses.
Right.
Ultimately it comes down to excuses. But if somebody really wanted to get into exercising and living a better, healthy lifestyle, we'll say, try to find yourself a good personal trainer, at least mm-hmm. just to get you on the path. Mm-hmm. Just at least get you on the path. At least make an effort. And maybe they'll have a way of giving you some words that'll motivate you. And maybe see a personal trainer just once a week, just mm-hmm. to keep a check on you.
Right. A little accountability.
Absolutely. Listen, let me tell you something, Brad. I text my clients. When they leave me, I'll text them the next day. What'd you eat this morning? How do you feel? If I don't see them for 2 or 3 days, I'll text, hey, just checking in. How you making out? Oh, you had this? Next time instead of having that taco, just eat the inside of the taco. And, it's working when I'm not working, but that little bit makes a big difference. And that's what separates the people who, are training 10, 15, 20 people a week than somebody who's training 60 to 85 people a week.
So you got a real relationship with them. I mean,
absolutely,
they just don't show up for their appointment. You're thinking about them and caring for them all along the week. And then that helps with their, because they want to, I don't want to say please you, but they probably appreciate the accountability. They want to know that they can be as reliable as you are. You're modeling some really healthy relationship behavior with them.
And you know what, Brad? I actually do care about these, my clients, especially because, when I was growing up, I had no family. Nobody ever said, good job, George, or gave me a hug or showed any appreciation. So, I know that I'm really great to my clients, but they're great for me also. Mm-hmm. I mean, I really feel bad when they leave or, they stop training for whatever reason, but they are just as therapeutic to me as I am to them. They mm-hmm. rank so much value to my life because, again, I went the majority of my life without having really any love. Mm-hmm. So, it is my pleasure, my honor to help these people.
You know how that hurts to not have that. And so you don't want to be that guy. You want to definitely show up and just reflect some good back to the person.
I don't want to disappoint them.
Make them feel special. And
absolutely.
That's great.
Absolutely.
Do most trainers talk about diet with their clients too? I mean, do most do, or is that like specialized stuff, or most are considering both with their?
Most personal trainers are stuck still in the 70s, the 80s and talking about calories. And it's just the old way of talking about dieting. Mm-hmm. So when let's talk about calories. Mm-hmm. Okay. You'll never hear me use that word because calories is irrelevant. And when I have some of these courses that I teach, I ask them, I said, put your hands up, but I ask you one simple question. What's a calorie? Maybe 2 or 3 people out of, let's say, 50 people will put their hands up. Most people, all it is just a measurement of energy. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you could eat 1,000 calories a day, not lose any weight. Okay. Let's say if you had, 5 meals a day, 200 calories a day per meal, and it was cake. Your body's making insulin all day. All right. Let's say if you have 5, 6, 7, 8,000 calories a day, can you lose weight? Absolutely, you can. Why do you think the Atkins diet is so successful? They're eating, that amount, but they're losing weight. So calorie is just a measurement of energy. That's all it is. Mm-hmm. So to count calories, which the majority of personal trainers put their clients on, they cut their calories. Now you're eating less. Nobody wants to eat less.
Now
So
you
it's
have
what the
less
calories
energy.
are made out of.
Yeah.
So now there's some books now coming out about this. I knew this back in the 90s,
Because
So-
you were doing all that stuff. You were doing
absolutely
your own
was.
kind of
I
work
was
with it.
suffering and sacrificing myself. Absolutely I was. Absolutely. That's what you're supposed to do.
So what's your sort of routine? I mean, how do you stay this fit? You got a very low body fat percentage.
Yep.
Is this 5 days a week, 7 days a week, 3, or what's your typical healthy kind of what you like to do in terms of frequency and all that?
I weight train every day and I do a 2-body split. So on one day I'll do chest, shoulders, tries, hamstrings.
Mhm.
But the key is this. I keep my reps 12 to 15.
Mm-hmm.
I keep my sets to 3.
Okay. 3 sets of 12 or 15.
That's it. And I do only 3 sets per body part. Okay. So if I do chest, shoulders, tries, and hamstrings on a Monday,
Mm-hmm.
since I didn't destroy it, I could do it again 48 hours. I'll do it again on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll do it again on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes for my quadriceps, back, bis, and calves also. See, if you don't destroy that muscle, you can train it more often. It's tear and repair.
Tear and repair.
Tear and repair.
I love that. Tear and repair. That's that's the title of our episode, I think.
Oh, is
tear
it?
and repair.
Oh,
yeah.
it's very effective. Your joints appreciate it, especially at our age. You save a lot of time, and it's also not necessary. You see, look, it's all about the quality of the tear of a muscle.
Mhm.
Once you tear a muscle with the hardest effort that you could give, you're never going to tear that muscle like you did the first time.
Mm.
Why would you continue to tear the muscle? If I tell you to run 100 yards, as hard as I put a gun to your head, you're going to run this as hard as you can, and you do it. I'm going to say, do it again. There ain't no way in hell you're going to be able to do it again the way you just did. And every time that you do it, all right, you're going to get slower and slower and slower. So once you tear that muscle, there's no need to continue to tear the muscle. So when I see a guy who's doing, 15 sets on his biceps, if I were to take a thermometer and jam it into his muscle, the temperature you're creating friction is going up in that muscle. Now you're creating lactic acid.
Ah, that's where the soreness comes from.
That's where some of the soreness comes from, but it's detrimental to your muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Tear the muscle and leave it alone. See, most people think that lifting the weights is what makes your muscles grow. That's not what makes your muscles grow. It's resting the muscle and eating the protein. That's what makes the muscles grow. But most people think, let me just destroy this muscle. It's going to make it grow. It's not true at all. And then again, when you destroy the muscle like that, now you're going to need way more days of recovery to do it.
Wow, that's fascinating. Tear and repair.
Tear and repair, brother. That's it.
It's funny because, there's people doing these ice baths and all these different things and, make yourself uncomfortable. I've used I didn't have this clever a term as tear and repair, but I've used that with people just going through hard things in life, and what I talk about is that, hey, you've gone through something difficult, a big transition, a divorce, a job loss or whatever. Good. That's going to make you stronger. That's a tear. And now let's do the repair. You had a fight with your woman and, you feel all beat up from that. Good. Let's let that heal and repair it. And that's how we get stronger in life too.
You're right.
We tear our soul, we tear our cells, we tear our muscle. And then the repair is what brings us strength. That's a fascinating
That's right, Brad.
metaphor there.
You're absolutely right. It's funny because, as we're talking here, you kind of see that our professions really aren't that different.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
Whether you're learning knowledge and how you learn from hurting and how to put things back together again as efficiently as possible, doing the best that you can. And results, even if it's psychologically, if you feel more confident, if you can speak better, it's progress, and people love progress. So Brad, when you create that, it motivates them. And a lot of times it's very difficult, and sometimes it takes more than 1 or 2 or 5 sessions. But once they get a hold of it, don't let go.
They can be forever different from there. Yeah,
absolutely, it can. Don't get lazy.
So you've done a lot of leadership too. So you're not just doing this one-on-one stuff with your clients. You've built massive programs, done massive gym overhauls where you're renovating the entire space, managing the whole project.
Correct.
There's a lot of leadership there too. When it comes to networking, I saw there where you're talking with orthopedic guys and
Correct.
Physical therapists and dietitians and all these different
oncologists.
Yeah, all these different like
absolutely.
disciplines, and you've had to connect with them.
Sure.
That's a way to network to get, I guess, referrals, but also you're giving something to them. I'm just curious about what you've learned about leadership and the power of networking.
Well, with the networking, again, back when I started, I would train a lot of kinesiologists and oncologists and, general practitioners and orthopedics, and they're more than happy to share their knowledge with you. So when I train them, it's not just all, banging the weights. There's a little bit of conversation, and sometimes they'll let me borrow their books. They'll bring me in to them if I have a client of mine that has a herniated disc. And, oh, you know what? I'm seeing Jennifer later at 3:00. My office is right across the street. I said, you know what? I know Jen. Yeah, well, come on in. Let's look at some of the X-rays and the MRIs, as long as Jen's comfortable with that. And usually it's a client that I know, and learn, from there. Again, hands-on. When there's so much talent. There's so much talent with some of these people that you work with. They're just not just somebody that you train, but again, they have, some skills or that they can share with you, and it's awesome because they appreciate sharing that also. So that's how you start to become, friendly with these people, and you start going to their homes for dinner and, meeting their families. So, like I say, I mean, you learn a lot in this profession also, and same thing with you, Brad. You start to know these people, and then they have a lot to teach you. You didn't think walking into it, but all of a sudden, like, man, this guy or this woman is, wow, really something.
I always say to people, I feel guilty sometimes getting paid to be inspired by my client. Because I definitely learn about life, and I learn about things I haven't experienced,
sure,
and how the people work on their repair of that. I definitely learn from that. So you're sharing things with these other professionals. They're sharing with you.
Absolutely.
You're hanging out with high level people. You're working with people who are interested in growth and in health. That's got to help your internal frequency that you're on, because everybody you're talking to is in the gym or a health professional or someone that is serious about living well.
Sure. And you know what, Brad? Even the people who are not as educated or, not as worldly, there's always something to learn. That you think that you're thinking one way, and all of a sudden this person will say something to you that comes out of left field. You're like, what, shit, man, I didn't even think about that. That's usually the person apologizes before they tell you, I'm going to ask you a dumb question, and you're like, wow, that thank you for sharing that. I'm glad you didn't hold that back. Kind of like when you saw me at Albertsons, you just stepped up to me and you said, hey, do you want to get together? And you kind of, it's like, I'm perfect timing, right? So
and that's how you
know.
Started this too. You were just at the gym, and they noticed that you were there all the time, and they offered you the job. That's part of how you began, is through networking. And you mentioned earlier about how nice it was for people to see you and value you. So they didn't just filling a position with you. They noticed drive, they noticed ambition, they noticed you have some intelligence about this stuff and some consistency and some good habits. So
sure,
that's helped with the networking. When it comes to leadership, working with teams, supervising or managing people, you've done a ton of that type of thing. What have you found as just most important in working with people that you're in charge of or that you lead? What are some things you picked up along the way about what to do or not to do as you work with people or try to inspire?
Well, I will say that some of the clients now that I'm currently working with, I'm working a lot with balance issues. In order to get, one thing the body hates to do is fall. If you got a broken arm and you feel like you're going to fall, your body will use that arm. It can't help itself. So what I get to do with my clients, a lot of that I'm working with now, is they have to trust me. And in order to get the best result out of them, especially when it comes to balance, I have to actually make them feel like they're going to fall. I have to get them to the point where their eyes get big, they stick their arms out, but what happens is I'm getting the maximum amount of muscle flexing. I'm getting so much stimulation from their brain to their nerves into the muscles that It's the only way to do it. Because if they know I'm going to catch them, if they know they're not going to fall, the results won't be as good. So you have to make them think that they're really going to fall. And I'll get them close. I've never dropped anybody yet.
Kind of push them to the limit. And you're saying
Absolutely.
there's a connection with what their brain thinks is going to happen and what actually happens, which is safety, and it's all good. And you're kind of there to
That is correct.
protect them. But
I have to make them uncomfortable, but they have to trust me. That's kind of like when you stand up and you cross your arms and you fall backwards. It's like that.
Wow.
Yeah. But if I have a way of convincing you and promising you that you're not going to get hurt, and this is the best thing that you can do, just trust me. Just trust me. I got you. They'll do it.
Wow.
They'll do it, and the results are amazing.
So I'm a little bit weird like this because I think in everything in parallels, but I'm thinking of what you're saying and, again, how that applies to life. You're saying one thing that I do to help people with balance is put them on the verge of complete imbalance and make them think they're going to fall. And that's where the growth comes from. That's where the good stuff is in the almost too much. So that's interesting. I wonder how that applies to the rest of us, the rest of life, where don't be so afraid of your limitation. Try to push it a little bit. Try to push beyond what you think you can do. And that's actually where you start to find some balance. That's fascinating.
The human body is amazing at adapting, not just physically, but mentally also. You know, you'll see a lot of these gentlemen and some of these women that are in the military. You know, they think that, you know, I can't do this. I can't do this. You know, I can't hold my breath underneath the water for, let's say, a certain amount of time, or, you know, a certain amount of distance, or, you know, I can't stand the heat this much. There's no way I'm jumping in that bucket of ice water. And then all of a sudden, you know, somebody's yelling in your ear, yes, yes, yes. And man, you do it. You do it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not always going to happen. But the fact that you even tried is a step forward, and then you do it again, and then you do it again, and you know it's our bodies. It'll go. Our mind tells us it won't go, but our bodies, it'll go.
Oh, I was thinking of the term atrophy, and I think I'm no expert, but I think what that means is you kind of start to lose, you know, muscle mass, and you lose your strength by not using that.
Correct.
And I'm guessing that's true mentally as well. You know, if you're not pushing yourself, you're not challenging yourself, you're not learning anything new with the body, mind, and spirit, I'm guessing that all applies, that you got to just be willing to do the repetitions and keep showing up and keep working at it. And even though we have the instant gratification, you're saying people want to see results within 2 weeks. If we just put in the time, the day will come when it's unmistakable what growth you've had. I mean, no one's ever going to question your fitness or focus on health because of how you look. And this didn't happen overnight. This is 40 years of this stuff.
Right. I have good genetics also,
which
also play a factor. There are people who work way harder than me. I don't even sweat when I lift weights. I don't want to sweat.
I'm sweating right now.
I get it. I understand. And I wish I could take all the credit, but, you know, God has given me this physique, and it would be a disgrace, an absolute disgrace for me to have this body and then abuse it.
Right.
It really, because people would just kill, you know, for that. And I don't mean to sound, you know, kind of.
No, that's true though.
Like
you accept that, yeah.
But honestly, I you know, I diet hard. My cardio is very, very difficult. But as far as weight training is concerned, I walk past the weight, and I can grow. So
yeah, I got off track talking about your routine. So you work out, you lift weights every day.
Every day.
And then what about cardio and then diet?
I'll tell you about my cardio.
Okay.
And my cardio is, it's dangerous.
Uh-oh.
This is what I do. I wait till it's about 115 degrees out, the hottest time in the temperature, make sure it's nice and sunny out. I put a pair of tights on, sweatpants on, and a black rubber suit on the bottom. On my chest, I put a tight turtleneck, a very thick vinyl shirt, hooded sweatshirt, a 3mm neoprene swimsuit on with a black rubber suit on top. Big pair of sunglasses, 2 quarts of ice water on my back, and a nice big hat to protect me for the sun. And I walk outside in the sun.
Wow.
So if it's 110 degrees out, I'd probably say it's about 125 degrees inside that suit.
Oh,
and there's a reason why I'm doing that. Now, back in the day, you know, you used to see the wrestlers put a trash bag on it and sweat. Sweat is the dessert. This is how it works. if I were to take somebody's body and throw it in ice water, okay, what happens is all the blood rushes to the center of the body to the organs. Okay, all right. You know, your body doesn't need legs or arms to live. It's the same thing when I get with this hot. What happens is, it's the damnedest thing. It's the only way to do it. How do you get when you do cardio, your heart accelerates and your lungs accelerate. So when you run, right, heart accelerates, lungs accelerate. When you swim, heart accelerates, lungs accelerate. When you do the pre-core, any type of cardio, how do you get your heart to accelerate without breathing faster? There's only one way to do it. Heat and extreme cold, extreme heat. So what happens is my body gets so hot, my blood starts to thicken. Now my blood starts to pull to the center of my body. So when I start to walk, my heart accelerates, but I could talk to you just the way I'm talking to you now. See, oxygen isn't my problem. It's the fact that my blood has gotten thicker. So what happens is my legs start to get real heavy. I struggle to walk because all the blood has now gone to the center of my body. So make sure you don't eat carbohydrates 3 hours before you do your cardio. You don't want any insulin in your body. So I know when I start walking, whatever it was in my liver has been digested, and I walk in this extreme heat. I mean,
that's crazy.
When you need to shut it down, when you start feeling cold, that's when you got to start taking some layers. But I do that about every single day. It's very, 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 very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable.
I can't imagine. How long is your walk?
Oh, as I start to get leaner and leaner and leaner, you know, body fat is stored energy. My walks, I probably say now, maybe 1.5 miles if I'm lucky. But that could take me an hour. A lot of times I'm bent over, you know, just trying to get some type of energy back. But it is very, very uncomfortable. And most people can't do it. I tell my clients, look, you know, start here, don't start with so many, and then work your way up. But like I say, mine is very, very extreme. But in order to get that lean, you have to get your body very uncomfortable. I increase my fat intake because your body will start to go into preservation mode is what will happen. So I increase my fat intake and I put that damn suit on and I will go basically almost to where I pass out. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I know I look quite heavy, but it's actually I've got 3 suits on underneath. I'm just.
Oh, do you?
I'm just kidding. No. I imagine what that looks like. Are you walking down the road? I mean, this is around your neighborhood or whatever.
Yeah, I'm walking down the road, or you know, when I lived in Lake Las Vegas, walk towards the hills. If you see the shade, walk around it. When you see a hill, walk towards it. It's, you know, I got to be honest with you. You know, when I moved out here from New Jersey 5 years ago, I thought there would be a lot more thinner people here. I mean, it's beautiful. There's hills. It's sunny every day. Right. I was like, wow, there's got to be, you know, skinny people around here, like in California, right? I was like, wow, it's not the case. I was shocked. I know that the cultures here is a little bit different. You know, you have a lot of Spanish people like myself. You know, we eat a lot of starches, so to speak. But besides that, yeah, I was pretty surprised.
I love you say walk toward the hills.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to
walk
make it
around the shade.
Don't run. And this is a big thing. So look, real quick, the difference between walking and running. When you run, you start to breathe faster. Okay, you're going to burn very, very little more body fat. You will burn more body fat running, just a little bit more. What you're really burning is oxygen for energy. You're burning a lot of oxygen, not even counting the wear and tear on your back, your knees, your hips, your shins. See, walking is something that you can do every day. Once you run, especially guys our age, all right, next day, more than likely, you're going to be sore. Whether it's, you know, your joints or your muscles. And again, for the amount of wear and tear you're going to put on your body, all right, it's not a fair trade-off as far as I'm concerned. I would rather walk every single day, all right, not have any injuries from it. It's just not worth the small amount of body fat. Again, that's the difference between dropping body fat and being healthy. All right. I'm not interested in burning oxygen for energy. I'm not an athlete. I'm not doing a marathon. So I want to burn body fat. And I want to do it. That's the most effective way. And that is the best way to do your cardio is to walk. Get yourself uncomfortable. Get yourself warm. Okay. Don't do it the way I do. You know, don't go Kerouac first time coming up, but get yourself nice and warm. Okay. That's the best way to do cardio. And that's something you could do every day.
You know, probably a year ago, I got back in the gym after some time, and I was just walking on the treadmill. I'd do a little incline.
Right.
I started feeling really good, and after maybe 3 weeks, I ran one day. Now I'm like 280, and I've had knee surgeries on both knees, and felt really good and running. The next day and that evening, my knee just swelled up, and I couldn't even walk then for days after that. And so I think I've found that for myself to be true as well. I wish I could run just to say that I could, but but to be more consistent, I mean, that took me out for a long time. I'm icing my knee, all this. And anyway, walk, don't run, avoid the shade, walk towards the hill. And
carry lots of water with you. And always have your cell phone.
Yeah, that's got to be. So you said the thing that you're doing that's kind of dangerous. I'm guessing that just really radically increases your temperature. I mean, you're like one of these ravers out of the EDC out here, you know.
That's right.
You get overheated or something. So,
that is correct.
So interesting, man. So what about diet? You were talking about increasing fat. It seems like you kind of lean a little toward lower carb type stuff. What about for yourself, and how do you enjoy food as well when it's a holiday or whatever?
So I eat about probably 6 times a day. Okay. I probably honestly eat about every 2 hours, and I eat carbohydrates all day. I just don't eat carbohydrates 3 hours before I do my cardio.
Okay.
All I eat really is just fruits and some vegetables. Mm-hmm. Now I tell you what's a great weapon is the low carb wraps.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. You can make pizza with that. Now, look, the pizza is not going to taste like the pizza you get from, like, you know, Papa John's.
Right.
But, you know, again, when you're dieting, you know, for it being healthy, it's pretty good. You throw some mushrooms on that. You can throw it in the air fryer to cook in 8 minutes. You can have 2 of them. So again, you know, it doesn't have to be, you know, suffering,
miserable. Yeah.
Absolutely not. No, it doesn't. So I eat a lot of chicken. I eat a lot of salad. I eat a lot of red meat. And what you need to do when you start eating repetitive meats, you got to get creative with your marinating and your sauces on the side. I have a very strong sweet tooth, and as you can see, I always have coffee with me, and I'm not drinking it because of the caffeine. I could drink that and go right to sleep. But what I do is either tea. It's flavored, so I'll get like a coconut flavored coffee or French vanilla. And I'll put some monk fruit, which is it's like sugar, but there's no calories in it, and put some half and half in it. And the reason I put half and half in it is because fat makes you feel full. So Brad, if you're hungry and I got a tablespoon of peanut butter and I got a tablespoon of white rice, what's going to make you feel more full? The peanut butter will. Okay, so I drank that so it'll cut down on my ferocious appetite.
Wow.
That I have. Absolutely. And fat doesn't have any carbohydrates in it. So my stomach is somewhat full. It'll get me off to the next meal, so I'm not really starving. And that's what I'll drink, either that or tea.
What about the idea of, you just seem like a guy who's really consistent with what you're doing, lifting weights every day and that type of thing. What about vacation? Are you still trying to be mindful that way when you're there too?
Sure. Yeah.
Holidays come around or things like that.
Yeah. So, once October, November comes, I'll probably put on maybe 5 pounds. But when you're a big guy like me, honestly, if I got rid of some of this muscle, I wouldn't mind. I look ridiculous at 220, 225. And honestly, as long as you can eat anything you want, cake, pies, cookies, it doesn't really matter. As long as you're willing to pay the price the next day to get it off, because it's just water. It's just water. It hasn't turned into fat yet. So, when you have let's say if you're eating pretty healthy, and you've done this before, Brad, and all of a sudden you have pizza night, with the kids, and maybe had a little bit of cake for a birthday, and you get up in the morning and your ring's a little tight, you feel it in your fingers. That's just water. It's not fat.
Retention, yeah.
So you have an opportunity to get that off as quickly as possible. So pay the price. Put some sweatpants, sweatshirt on, go sweat your ass off. It'll come off just like this, like it never even happened. Don't let it sit, because once that turns into body fat, it's going to take a lot longer, and it's going to create more of an effort to get rid of it. It's just water. Get it off.
So I'm wondering about too, and this is a weird question maybe, but I'm assuming that with this kind of stuff, you're doing good for all of your organs. I mean, you're increasing blood flow everywhere, but I'm thinking about even like skin, like you're out there sweating your nuts off in your suit in 115 degrees. You're flushing, you're drinking a lot of water. How does it affect other parts of our health? So, skin, organ health and that kind of thing. We got a lot of blood flow going, oxygen getting everywhere.
The best thing for your heart, and again, I'm working with clients that are older, they say, oh, I got to do cardio. No, that's not true. The best thing for your heart is low body fat. Okay. Body fat is nothing but stored energy. That's all it is. So when you get a fat guy and you got a skinny guy and they go into the ocean, we've seen this before in the news many a times, they either crash on an island or the engine breaks on the boat. Who's going to live the longest? The fat guy is. That's stored energy. All right. So the best thing health-wise for you is try to keep your body fat as low as possible. Weight training is the best thing that you can do to drop body fat, not cardio.
Wow.
Weight training is. The more muscle you put on, and I have test after test after test. Every time the muscle mass goes up, it's a living entity. Something has to keep that new muscle mass that you put on alive. So your body will use body fat to keep it alive, so to speak. It'll use whatever you're eating to keep that muscle intact to your body. Every time the muscle mass goes up, body fat goes down. And I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tests. And it's about 95%, 97% happens every single time.
Wow.
So lifting weights is the best thing that you can do.
My friend and I, this is a little argument we've had. He's got a nice gym in his garage, and we were lifting weights, and then it started getting hot, and I said, hey, I want to get back to the gym and just do some cardio during the summer. I don't want to be lifting even though it's earlier in the morning. And he's going to hear this and say, see, Brad, experts say
I told
lift
you.
weights. Don't worry so much about cardio. But, man, this is fascinating stuff. So what are you doing right now? You working at Lake Las Vegas at the sports club, or what did I see down there?
I am currently working with some clients online.
Okay.
Some I have in India.
Whoa, wow.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. So India and Egypt are the two #1 growing countries as far as health and fitness and training. They're opening way more gyms over there. Big Ramy is from Egypt. He just won the Mr. Olympia, I think it was last year or 2 years ago. I'm working at Del Webb at Lake Las Vegas. That's a senior 55 and older community over there. And now I'm going to start getting a little bit more into technology. So I'm going to start getting myself, maybe start doing some videos to put online. Also,
you would just knock it out of the park on TikTok or something like that. Have you been on TikTok? Have you seen it even?
I just started getting into it. And you know what they say is that the 1 minute videos are like the most popular thing, because I think, our attention span, especially as men, is very, very limited. So, the 1 minute videos, just fill it up full of information, and we get to the point. Get to the point. Even when I do my talks, I'm not going to talk about, dropping body fat for 45 minutes. And I think people appreciate that. Get to the point, make it understandable, get some feedback if you need to, and move on, and, get as much information, as you can.
So what are some of the reasons that you're so likable, man?
Thanks,
and I'm just trying to put my
Brad.
finger on what it is. I mean, people like attractive people, and I do think that's an important part of leadership and stuff, is you got to carry yourself well, you got to look nice, you got to, you've chosen just all of how you show up in the world.
Thank you.
Is likable.
Yeah.
But I wonder what things, people have responded to the most when you've engaged with a client or working with someone, or professionally, some other medical person or whatever. What is it about you that allows people to kind of trust you? You said that's a big thing. They trust you. They like you. Why?
A lot of times I get my business. I've never advertised. Never, ever advertised. It's word of mouth. And so my training studio is a place called Morristown, New Jersey. Small community, very heavy populated. And let me tell you something. You start working with 2 or 3 women or men who are popular in the area, word gets out real quick. I tell you what, I really took off. I mean, I was doing fantastic there anyway. You train a couple of pregnant women, man, I mean, they're knocking at your door. I mean, they're like... I'm like, look, I don't have time. They're like, no, you don't understand. You have to train me.
You got to be the guy.
There's nobody else I can go to. Your reputation precedes you. I got to have you. And I don't know how to work out. And now I'm pregnant. So now, now they're worried about their baby. And, and if you say look, I just don't have 8 a.m. Monday, but here comes the husband. Hey, look, give me yours. And he puts your arm around the neck and says, look, you need to do me a solid.
We need you to do
it. So, I think that being knowledgeable, projecting confidence, getting results, it goes a long way. It goes a long way.
You seem like a complimentary type person too. So you're praising them. You notice some growth. I guess there's a lot of feedback. You're reflecting back all these positive things that you see. Hey, you're really picking this up. You're really whatever. I mean, there's a lot of.
It's true. Yeah. Again, the bread, it's similar. It's not just physical. Honestly, I would probably say 80% is mental. Lifting the weights is easy. All right. So if we lift weights for 45 minutes, you have another 23 hours and 15 minutes the rest of the day. What are you going to do during that time? I'm not here with you. You have to let them know that when you're not here, this is what I want you to think of. All right. I want you to do everything that you eat. You're eating now for a reason, not for entertainment purposes. Everything that you put in your mouth is serving a purpose. There's no such thing as breakfast and lunch and dinner anymore. Okay. You're just eating for a reason. And if you have a client that's a little bit challenging, you check in with them. You know who they are. You check in with them, and you let them know if you go to a restaurant, you're not sure what you could text me. All right. Look at the menu before you go to the restaurant so you kind of know. And you don't want to be maybe a little bit embarrassed looking at the menu. Oh, I'm trying to lose weight and explaining yourself to everybody. Look at the menu before you go. So again, these little things really help people not just achieve their goals, but makes it a little bit more comfortable for them.
You mentioned something there about not eating for entertainment. So I earlier in my life, I was very fit. I played college football and loved all that, the physical activity part of that, just working out all year long. And
you're a pretty big dude.
With my teammates and stuff. And then I got to, after a divorce, I think I got to like 425 pounds. And I actually had weight loss surgery. And one of the things they talked about is, look, you got to stop eating for entertainment. And I thought, oh man, that's my thing. It's like to celebrate, or hey, let's have some fun. Food is always. And I've actually learned this from some clients who talk about, I just need some protein, or I need some carbohydrate. And they think of it as like just this machine that, does it need gas or not, or does it need maintenance in some way? And food is not just this super fun thing. And I've had an interesting challenge with that, because my wife, she's 10 years younger than me, but she cooks like a grandma. I mean, she's this Polish girl from Chicago, and she said, in the winter we just sat inside all winter long and cooked. So she can cook this amazing stuff, and every meal, it's massive. There will be 4 of us there, and she cooks there's like 30 people. So the idea of not eating for entertainment,
correct?
Man, I've forgotten that concept, but it seems like when you're saying people who are healthy are just looking at the need and the timing, and it's more about, it's less about the celebration.
Sure.
with food.
Culture plays a big part in that. And you said that your wife is Polish.
Yeah.
So again, it's gathering around the table, cooking the meals that their grandparents made. I see that with a lot of the Mexicans here, and the Italians. I mean, it's just how it is.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah, I get that. You tell them that they can't eat rice, and they're like, crazy. It's like saying I can't breathe oxygen. I mean, I can't live without it. What are you talking about? We have to find a way of me eating rice. I'm like, look, you can't do it. All right, now I'll modify. I'll give you maybe some cauliflower rice, and but again, it's understandable. And listen, nobody's saying that you can't do it. Okay, just cut it down and be prepared to do the dirty work the following day. That's all. But at least you have options. You always want to have options. You'll never hear me say you can't do that. Right. No. You can, but just be prepared to do the work.
Yeah.
Afterwards,
know that it has an impact, and you can reverse that or whatever. But you just got to know that the cause and effect. When you do this, it's going to have this effect on your body, on how you feel, on your gains or whatever. So
if I say to you, Brad, look, I'm training you, and you just lost, 3 pounds of body fat this week. And now your wife is going to make dinner tonight. You're like, man, I worked my ass off. man, I'm looking good. My tank top's fitting good, right? I mean, I'm looking good. I got a couple compliments today. Hey, look, there's always some vanity in this. Okay, always. Don't give me that. And you'll get more compliments from guys than you were the women, which is funny, right? And then you're gonna be like, you know what? I'm gonna eat this tonight, but I'm gonna cut down a little bit. I'm not gonna splurge. And again, that's why results are they're just the biggest motivator that you can get for sure. Again, nobody's saying you can't have it, but if you're going to do it, cut it down. Do the work the next day.
I have a friend who's a medical guy, and he's also like a marathon runner and a triathlon type of guy and whatever, and he's famous for baking. And so he cooks these cookies, or he'll do these homemade pizzas or whatever, but he talks about, if I want a cookie, I have one. So even within that, to be a little bit restrained and have some discipline and whatever. I love what you're talking about, man. I have a couple more questions for you. One is, if you're talking about a dude, if our average listener is maybe a 40-year-old dad, he works hard, he's a professional, or maybe does, blue collar work or whatever, but he's gained some weight over the years. He's busy with his kids.
Right. Very common.
Just trying to, do life or whatever. But if he wants to begin, or if there is someone who's been there and wants to come back to this way of thinking and this way of being, this way of living, what would you recommend? How can a guy get his head right? What might be some motivating messages for someone who wants to start?
Honestly, which is the hardest thing to do. It is the hardest thing to do, especially if you don't have a friend to go with. Maybe if you could find a neighbor or a friend, maybe your son to go with, it's a help. Also, I would recommend getting a personal trainer, even if he's not the best personal trainer or not the most knowledgeable. Get a little bit of guidance.
Someone who can just guide you a little bit.
A little something, maybe, a couple of tips that you can get. Somebody that you can say hi to, maybe check in once in a while, when you're working out. Look, everything you need to know is on the internet. Now, from there, you'll have to, kind of filter out what's good and not good. But the most important thing, man, just park that car and walk in there.
Just go up in there. Just
get in there. And once you do it once, the second time you won't be as nervous, the third time. And then you just kind of start to look around some of the other people are doing. But it's like anything else. Just start getting yourself a little bit familiar. Just get yourself familiar. And then once you start feeling a little bit more confident, maybe get a personal trainer once a week. All right. You could just start there. Just maybe he could do a routine for you. Write it down on a piece of paper. All right. And then the next time you see him, he can give you a new routine to do, and then you do that routine, let's say 3 times a week, and you just from there you just kind of start you start to build up, and then you start to talk to other people in the gym. Maybe you get another personal trainer, just kind of to compare notes. I've always sometimes recommended to say, look, go talk to that personal trainer over there, see what he thinks. I love talking to personal trainers. Unfortunately, a lot of personal trainers have massive, gigantic egos. They don't want to talk to other personal trainers because they know everything and they're doing pretty good, and it's really too bad. Yeah. But there's ways to gather knowledge, but just get in there, man. Just get in there. Just get in there.
Yeah, then they start to be familiar faces. You're more comfortable.
Of course.
What are the early, I said a couple more questions. There may be a few more, but anyway, what are some of the early obstacles? So someone got in there and they've been going for 10 days or whatever. They started. What knocks them out? I mean, the first leg day and they can't walk the next morning, or what keeps people from progressing once they have started? Like,
I would say lower your expectations.
Okay.
Lower your expectations. Be proud that you're just getting in there.
That's the win. That's
a big win.
You're going.
Sign that piece of paper, sign the contract, pay that whatever, amount of dollars per month, and just get in there. And like I said, from there, it'll be up to you, how you want this venture to go. But hopefully, find somebody that can help you out. Like I say, as far as I'm concerned, man, my newbies, I check with them pretty often until they say, all right, George, stop texting me like I got it. That's how I get it. But, that's, like I say, getting in the door is pretty good.
What about the cost of a personal trainer? So if they're just down at EOS or whatever, and they just want to, whoever's the newest guy, I mean, they don't need a high level expert like yourself, but someone at the lower level to begin with. What might someone around here look to pay for something like that for personal trainer?
So depending on where you are, let's say, so if you're in Lake Las Vegas,
Mm-hmm.
the sports club or, the lake club, it's more than likely going to be a little bit more expensive than somebody is like, I'm at Proto Gym
Mm-hmm.
over there. They can, kind of control their own cost. Look, usually for a 45-minute session, it's going to cost you around $50 to $75,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere around there. But I got to tell you, and I say this to a lot of people who I first meet, look, if you work in here in this gym for 12 months with my knowledge, okay, what I tell you, long as you do it as I tell you to do, and how to do it, I can get you results in 3 months. So you may think, $75 is a lot of money. You know how much time I'm going to save you? Do you know how much, you're not going to get injured?
Right.
It's there's such a benefit to it, because again, you don't want to come in here and waste your time. More than likely, you're already so busy with other stuff. But if you're going to be in here doing something that you probably really don't want to do anyway, at least make it, worth your while, that you're actually doing something. So
you make a great point about, yes, there's some investment, and maybe you don't have to have a trainer forever. I think a lot of men probably would avoid something like that because, we don't even want to ask for directions.
That's right.
But much less have you standing over me, spotting me or whatever. That kind of thing is probably hard for a lot of guys. And then I see guys who have like a hot female trainer, and I'm like, bro, why is that your motivation? But how do you see men like that? I mean, are they very uncomfortable to have you teaching them? I'm just thinking about the obstacles for men.
Well, Brad, you're absolutely correct. Every personal trainer has more women than men because women are more, they're more likely to ask for help.
Yeah, they're more open to leadership.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And men most of the times think just because they're men or they were the 8th grade starting quarterback that they know how to lift weights. So they come in with their old jersey on. It's way too tight, and they're drinking their muscle mass drink. It's spilt down their shirt, and they think automatically they did. But those are the people, it's the men who get injured the majority of the time. Those are the ones who really, really need help. So I got to tell you, when I train my men, I don't raise my voice, especially. I am not trying to cause any type of attention, especially when I work with men, because I think, like you said, Brett, there's a little bit of ego in there, and maybe they feel a little bit they should know how to do this.
Yeah.
But what I do is I keep them close to me, and when I talk to them, I'll just kind of stand them and just say something in their ear real quiet. Look, you're paying me money, well, for my service and my knowledge. I'm not going to start telling okay, now look, keep the weight in your thumbs, and then everybody's listening, getting what you're paying for, and I keep it quiet. I don't draw too much attention, and I'm very serious, when it comes to this. And I think they appreciate that. We're not going to go in there and just start bullshitting and start looking at girls and stuff like that. I think with the men, you got to be a little bit more, let's get to the point, let's get to work, and let's train like men.
Yeah.
I
love it how you're saying you're not causing a scene up there, like, calling them out, embarrassing them, or
oh, you don't want to do that.
You're just keeping it really cool so they feel comfortable.
And I touch my clients. A lot of these trainers now, they're basically paid counters. They stand there with their arms and they count. I think if you're going to pay me this type of money, I'm going to show you that I'm interested in what you're doing. So a lot of times when I train my clients, I'm poking their muscle.
I'm Feel poking, that right there? You're like showing the contraction or whatever.
So what I'm doing is I'm creating nerve stimulation. So if I just were, Brad, walk up to you and I poked you in your stomach, you would automatically flex your ab muscles. So when you're training a muscle and I poke it or I press on that hard enough, you're going to flex that muscle even harder. All right. It also shows you that I'm interested in what you're doing. If I say, look, flex your bicep, and you don't know what a bicep is, now that I'm tapping on it, now you know what it is. All right. And usually I have a 10-second rule when I train my clients. You have to say something or you have to touch them within 10 seconds. Again, they are paying for you for your time. Just don't stand there. Act like you give a damn, show some interest, poke them. Prod them, grab them by the neck, say, well done, hit them in the back. When they put your hand on top of the head, good job, man. It's you're trying to, these people are very vulnerable when they come to, they don't want to get hurt. Maybe they're a little bit embarrassed. They don't want to feel stupid asking you questions. Maybe they feel like they should know, but they're very vulnerable, especially the ones that have injuries or sicknesses and diseases, balance issues, pregnant. Make them feel good. Make it feel like I got you. You can trust me. We're in this. Me and you, we're going to do this together. You're intense working out. I'm intense training you. Let me tell you something. You train 6, 8, 10 people like that with that type of interest, you're exhausted.
I bet.
You're exhausted. Everybody thinks, playing golf is, because you're concentrating so hard. You don't want to make a mistake hurting somebody, so mentally you get tired, personal training, if you give a damn, and you should be exhausted.
Yeah, you're giving your whole self to this person.
You are watching every single move that you should be when they make, whether or not they got the weight in the heels of their hands, if their hands are pivoted right, how they're breathing. You have to also read them. A lot of times when I first start training somebody, I say, how do you feel? Do you feel sick? Do you feel nauseous? A lot of my clients, they get sick. They get nauseous. They'll throw up. But some of them, a lot of guys, they want to be a little bit. I'm like, don't push through it. I'm telling you right now, you will get sick. And if you throw up, you're going to be really dehydrated. And then you're going to be here for a little bit. So.
Wow. Yeah. So George, man, you are just a wealth of knowledge and information. Part of this, the reason I do this is because men need men, and the reason I have all these seats in here, I do some men's groups. I actually have 6 men's groups. One of them is off site here, and a friend of mine does that at actually a senior assisted living place for older men. But I've got guys from 18 years old all the way to probably my oldest client is about 65. And the point is here, learn from a man who's learned some things. And I think we need that in general. So I'm promoting guys get together and, have friendships and a little tribe, a little committee, that can help you through your difficult things in life. But you showing up here is just part of that, because you're now teaching 250 men at least who are going to listen to this. And it's amazing what you bring to this. Tell me, what is the most alpha thing about you? And we define alpha as just your highest and best self, that you're operating in your highest possible energy. It seems like you're doing that on a lot of levels. What do you claim? What's your superpower?
My superpower, honestly, I wouldn't say that it has anything necessarily to do with my physical being. There's nothing I enjoy at the end of the day. And sometimes, even when I come home, I'll talk to some friends or some people that I know, go out for a drink or something. And I'll tell them a story of what happened at work today. I had a guy, I trained a guy, he was a marathon runner, legit. He ran like the Oregon, the Washington, the New York City, and he had a stroke and he can't barely move the left side of his body. And I had him walking upstairs today, and I took a video of it. And I have another guy who has drop foot, and I record him, and then I record him again 2 months later. And then when he walks, you can't nearly hear as much. So it's as far as me being alpha, honestly, that's it. When I see my clients achieve something that they never thought they could do before, maybe they get off their medicines, a diabetic, or some of these medicines that these people take. Honestly, for me, that's it. I think that I have surrounded myself with this profession, and it's good for me. It's good for me, and it's a double-edged sword. And I've always said this to people, and this goes for any profession or any being, is that sometimes the way that you grow up is the worst thing that's ever happened to you, but it could also be the biggest fire in your life to motivate you. When you've had a really fucked up childhood and all of a sudden you get a hold of some positiveness, some good feedback, people who say, thank you, dude, you're great. Thank you. You're like, you know what? Forget about the money. The fact that you appreciate me and you know that I'm there for you, there's nothing like it. You will work crazy hours. You will work 7 days a week. You don't want to disappoint these people. So again, if you don't have this growing up, it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes you get into drugs and alcohol and make some really, really bad decisions. But if you can, anchor that in the right way, there's no stopping you. There's no stopping you. No is not it's not in your vocabulary. And I have to work, if I have to stay and study, if I have to read, if I have to contact therapists and orthopedics, and I have to contact a podiatrist and gather some knowledge, because I got this guy coming in who's in bad shape, man, you're going to do it. You do not want to, impede this guy's progress in any type of way. So for me, that's it. Training some really good clients, busy day, another big day coming tomorrow. And every single one that walks out of it is like, George, man, thank you so much. That thank you to me is very powerful to me. That's what motivates me.
Man, that's awesome. So this guy's ripped and shredded and swollen. He's got all the good looks. He's got all the.
It's easy for me.
All those
Don't
things.
give me that much credit.
But I'm asking him his most alpha thing. He's built all kind of massive things and programs and businesses, and he's saying the thing that he is most powerful about him is his relationship with people, and the thank you, and then showing up for someone. People have asked me before, and we'll wrap up here, but people have asked me before about, what is kind of the purpose of life or whatever, these big philosophical questions. And I've had to think about it because I didn't know. I didn't know what to tell them, or I didn't want to put in my spiritual views in there. I just, as a generic, what is the purpose? And to me, here's what I came up with. The purpose of life is to have a life. It's to create life. And it's to preserve life.
I agree with
so
you, Brad.
when I think about you, George, I'm thinking about you've got a life. You've created a nice life for yourself. But you also create life in other people. So the guy that, the pregnant girl who needs to stay healthy while she's pregnant and doesn't know how to do it, and you can show up with this expertise and you're creating life in them. You're reflecting back. Here's the video, buddy. Look, you've made these improvements. How amazing at this growth. Look at this difference from this last couple of months. So you're creating life that way.
There's nothing like it.
And then you're preserving life because you're helping people be healthier. You're helping them tune into their needs, all of the things that you teach them. Dude, that is alpha to the core, because this isn't about you just being some lone ranger doing good things for yourself. You would be just as much of a stud if you were just working out and just fit. But you are bringing that to a lot of other people, and it sounds like doing it in a spectacular way where they feel loved and cared for and appreciated and supported, and they trust you, man. That is the best feeling in the world. And,
I do my best.
When people trust you and they say thank you, and this has become kind of your identity, and it comes out of, you're saying, this childhood thing where there wasn't a lot of, affirming messages or whatever, there wasn't enough love there. And so now you decided to show up and bring love to people. That's what this is, man. You do it in the form of, mechanics of muscles and different things like that. But it really is it's just love, because you're teaching people how to be happier.
Absolutely.
That's pure love, man. And so you got this big dude who's in here talking about the, building the body and so forth and healing the body. And really at the core of it all, and at the core of you, man, is just love. It's leadership. It's bringing life to people. It's helping them have a more quality of life. That's what's making you shine.
Absolutely.
That's, to me,
well said.
It's spiritually, deeply, I can just tell that is in your, no one's a perfect person, but I just believe that that's what's making you operate. It's like there's just this really high energy stuff that's going on with you. And I notice that because I study people as I listen to them talk, but I'm like, you're for real. You're the real deal about this. And I appreciate you so much, man.
Thank you, Brad.
George, if people want to get a hold of you, do you have a phone number, or like what's the preferred way? If one of these guys, there's some business owners and people around here I work with who might hear this and go, that's my dude. I need to find out how to get in touch with them. I don't know if you even take those kinds of contacts, but if someone wanted to reach you, how could they?
You can call or you could text me, 856-296-9916. I'll get back to you very quickly.
Yeah.
So, like I say, I have a wealth of knowledge in all different type of abilities as far as injuries and eating and training and basically getting people started, especially. So, like I say, even if it's just a conversation, just the fact that you even called or text messaged me, I think again, it's a step forward. And if I can show you this doesn't have to be that complicated, I can make you feel comfortable, and we'll move at your own pace, but I'm going to push you. So
I love that.
And just let me surrender to me. Just surrender, and I'll take it from here.
Let me help you. Yeah, I love that. Dude,
Take care of it.
you know what? You look like $1 million. You obviously just, you seem like kind of an intimidating guy in a way.
I hear that.
But you are freaking not that person. Yeah. Like, you have every reason to be a self-centered, conceited person. You mentioned some ego there. I'm sure that's part of it. But like, to be so down to earth and so approachable and just so genuinely nice, I can imagine that you make that process feel very comfortable for people.
It's so funny you say that, Brad.
This guy knows what he's talking about. But I see those ego-centered trainers and stuff around where they just think they're hot stuff and they can't wait for the fat lady to be done.
Right.
But you just seem like you're someone who can really join with them and be there.
Absolutely.
That's the soft skills. Those are the things that you can learn about muscle and the science of it. You can't learn how to love people, really.
Brad, you're absolutely. And it's so funny that you say that. I hear that all the time because people see me and like, that guy's a jerk. Look at him. He's a good looking guy. He's not married and he's got that body. Blah, blah, blah. And then they get to know me. They're like, dude, you are nothing that I thought that you were. I thought you were an asshole. And I didn't even talk to you. Just looking at you, I didn't like you.
Right.
And so, it's just kind of funny, how, people perceive, somebody to be one thing. And then they wind up being something totally different. Very common.
Well, I'm so glad to have met you, man. I really appreciate your time.
I appreciate
here.
your invitation.
You know what? I can imagine that. I always think I'm going to have this panel of, and I've got 8 or 10 guys that I'm going to rotate through here and there, but I might want to have you back at some point.
That would be
man.
fantastic.
I think this show is one of my favorite ones here. You just take a tough topic and make it seem like it's a lot of fun. You make it seem like it's doable for everyone and that they just have to push through, show up. You said park your car and walk in the door and begin, and you're going to learn. Do all the diets, try everything. If you can't afford a trainer, talk to someone, get some guidance, have some information about what you should be doing. You've talked about the value of, if they did invest in a trainer, it's going to save time and injury, and it's going to be actually far more beneficial for them to work with a professional on this stuff. George, sure. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Brad. Thank you.
You guys were talking about this because we need to be better in every regard. We need to be better with our bodies and our mind. We need to be better in our relationships. We need to be better in our attitude, our actions. We just have to show up better at life. And George, you've been a great example of that. You've inspired me here today.
It. Thank you.
I saw your blue tag here for Proto Gym. That's the one I just canceled because it's funny.
Get your ass
I was
going to
go there because EOS was all full.
Yes.
And then I went over there and I loved it, but I got COVID like the day, that night. This was like a year ago.
Right.
And so I just never went back. And I ended up going back to EOS, but I canceled that recently. But geez, now that I know you're there.
Proto Gym's not as busy.
I love that place. I love the feel of that place.
It's one of the it's privately owned, which is unusual out here in Nevada, and also it's not nearly as crowded.
Yeah,
and you're gonna find also in Proto Gym, like nobody's in there recording themselves, setting up these tripods and bullshit. It's people get in there, it's pretty quiet.
Just trying to
people
work
are
out.
In there, they're working out, so nobody's looking at you or we're there, and they got their own stuff that they're working on. They'll share the equipment there. Mike's the owner there, and you can get around a little bit easier on the machines that you need to get to. So, I'll meet you there, brother. Man.
All right, man. I really appreciate you, dude. I'm serious.
Brad.
We're going to have you back. This is probably going to post within a few weeks, but appreciate you being here.
Thank you, brother.
And you guys, until next time, no excuses. Alpha up.
If you're a man that controls his own destiny, a man that is always in the pursuit of being better, you are in the right place. You are responsible. You are strong. You are a leader. You are a force for good. Gentlemen, you are the Alpha, and this is the Alpha Quorum.